Well, sound design is probably one of the most important things that we're dealing with. Obviously, Naughty Dog's known for character-driven story, and that's huge. Character-driven action, accessible gameplay, that's like paramount because it is an interactive medium. But what we're trying to do tonally with this world and with the characters, audio design, sound design, sculpting out the environment, making you feel the sense of space, and creating that interesting tension or conflict between the beauty, right, of what's happening with nature reclaiming the earth and sort of the abandonment or sort of the raw aspects of what happens when a civilization falls apart, and it is a bit desperate. When you look at that contrast, and we want the sound design to have that sense of space, and we want the quiet moments, the negative space is huge for this game. It's about subtracting, right? Everything's bombastic and everything's over the top, and I want to let's go video games. And what we're trying to do is like, how do you pare it all back and say like, what's the essence of what we're trying to do? And with music specifically, we're trying to, Gustavo Santaolalla brings in this, right, beautiful juxtaposition between sort of the beauty of his melodies, the beauty of the sounds he gets, but it also resonates on this sort of tension. And it's kind of like just off, just enough, but it's beautiful in that way. And that's the exact same thing we're doing with the game and the characters. The relationship between Joel and Ellie and what they have to face throughout this adventure, what they have to do to survive, and the relationship between Joel and Tess, and they're working on the black market inside of the quarantine zone, and they have to go out carrying this package, which happens to be this other girl, and like what happens when the dynamics of these personalities get together. And that is an interesting dynamic. And then the rain comes in, and that has a subconscious sort of, aspect of what's going on, the storm that's happening. And then you go into a building and it's off kilter, so everything's just a little uneasy. And then so the sound of the building is creaking, but at the same time the drips of water just seeping through, it's finding its way through the environment, and it's just dropping and dripping, and it's all adding to the psyche of this game. Like you're invested in like what's around the next corner, and is that rain, or is that a shadow, or is that like what's going on? With the music pulling that into it, has this beauty, but it adds that tension. So when you're in like a fight space, just to have that little pulse, it's just enough. It's just a hint, to make you feel like, and it keeps you charged. It's really, sound design is like a huge goal of ours, is to try to make sure in the moment you're feeling it, as well as emotionally. Music is going to contrast what's happening on the screen. We always want music. If it's just backing up what's already happening, it's not adding anything. So we're only adding music if it actually adds a dimension to what's going on. And to have beautiful music playing at the same time as this horrific situation of like 5 infected and 2 bullets out in a dark environment with nothing but a flashlight is a really interesting contrast for us.
Let's play.
In true Naughty Dog fashion, we want to switch it up. We want the roller coaster ride. And if the game was like cranked to 11 the whole time and it's just like pushed with tension, then at some point it's just going to kind of like fall off, and you're going to be like, okay, I get it. And another jump on, another creature, another, and you have to have contrast. I mean, to make any interesting story or any interesting moment stand out, right? I have to go down low and quiet and able to make the loudness like pop, right? So it's the same thing with the tension and the sense of survival is there should be down moments where you're just looking around and enjoying the fact that the talented artists at Naughty Dog went out of their way to make that brick look amazing, And so it's not one without the other. It's a yin-yang thing. It's a black-white thing. It's a contrast thing. That one without the other, right? It's like it just gets boring. The Naughty Dog wants that pacing, and it's like with all the brutal reality of surviving in one of these fights with these infected, you also have elated moments where Ellie, it's her first time outside of the quarantine zone, and she gets to see with wide eyes, like she's been reading up on what's outside of the walls. She's only known this like tightly oppressed situation in the quarantine zone, and she gets out and suddenly it's like, this is downtown, like these are skyscrapers. Like she's never been around a building larger than 5 stories tall that's made over 100 years ago in brick. That's Old Town Boston. Now she gets to see downtown and she's like, this is unreal. I've never seen anything that big. So that contrast again is like so intriguing, that there's a storm going on and things aren't going great on the story, yet here's this person that has this wide-eyed fantastical aspect to her, like cool, you know. And that's kind of The Last of Us in a nutshell, is getting that contrast
in front of you.
Yeah, so I mean, because this is such a character-driven thing, every decision about the project has always come from the bond with Joel and Ellie. Is this helping us tell the story of Joel and Ellie and who they are? I mean, we picked kind of this world that's very harsh and hard to survive in, because it makes characters make some really difficult choices. And that's something we've always been intrigued about. So we're less concerned about telling the backstory of the world and exactly how things happen, even though you will find clues about the 20-year gaps between the outbreak and when we pick up the story. But it always comes back to Joel and Ellie and the journey and the relationship and how the relationship evolves on the entire course of the game. There's something about when we watched Planet Earth that was so intriguing about the fungus, because it was so creepy. It like goes inside your body and takes over your mind, and these things grow out of you. At the same time, when you see the end result, it's kind of beautiful. It's like sprouting, and it's got all these vibrant, wild colors, and that kind of contrast was really intriguing to us, to say you can make a threat. It doesn't have to just look like scary and have big teeth and all these things. It could be, in a way, it could be just beautiful and what nature is doing, and yet horrific at the same time.
You find me something to climb on. Here we go. There we go.
All sorts of things. I mean, if it was to go through different mediums, I mean, from film, Children of Men was a big inspiration for us. Again, because it's so character-driven, it's telling a story, it's like a redemption story of this guy. Likewise, I mean, the story didn't even start when we were working on it with the idea of infection. It started with Joel and Ellie and these very specific arcs that they were going to go on. And we looked at movies like True Grit or Leon the Professional, or one where you have this kind of adult guardian that has almost sort of redemption by trying to help this kid. As far as books, there's one we keep referencing back. It's called City of Thieves, and it's actually historical fiction. It's about these 2 guys surviving in World War II in Russia, in a city that's under siege, and it's this journey they go on. And the thing that we loved about it is just there's horrific things happening, but these characters can still tell jokes. There's still levity. They're still human beings, and that's something we really want to explore. And that interesting contrast between Joel, who's just a survivor and has done really horrible things to stay alive, and Ellie, who's all she's known in this world. So even though these things are horrific to us, for her it's day-to-day occurrence. So she can still kind of have that innocence to her, despite the horrible things that are happening in the world.
Fuck these guys. Joel, behind you!
Atomix PG.